I found a phone hidden in my wife's spare tire. The wallpaper made my blood run cold. It all started with a sound that no one wants to hear on a lonely highway at 2 in the morning. It was a dull bang, followed by the unmistakable flapping of rubber hitting the asphalt. My steering wheel jerked violently to the left, and I had to fight to keep control of my truck. I cursed under my breath, hitting the steering wheel with the palm of my hand. I was 40 kilometers from home, returning from a business trip that had ended a day earlier than planned. I wanted to surprise Elena, my wife of 10 years. The irony of the situation did not escape me. I wanted to arrive early to be romantic, and now I was stranded in a torrential rain that had just started to fall. I got out of the vehicle, feeling the cold water soak my shirt in seconds. The rear right tire was completely destroyed. There was no way to repair it with the emergency kit. I needed to change it for the spare. I opened the trunk, moved the toolboxes, and lifted the carpet covering the spare wheel compartment. That was when I saw something strange. As I pulled out the hydraulic jack and the lug wrench, I noticed a black bundle taped with industrial adhesive tape to the inside rim of the spare tire. At first, I thought it was some kind of sensor or maybe a piece of lead to balance the tire that had come loose, but the size did not match. It was rectangular and too large. Curiosity overcame the urgency to change the wheel. With fingers numb from the cold and rain, I ripped the tape. Layer after layer of black plastic fell to the ground until the object was freed. My heart gave a strange jump. It was not a car part. It was a smartphone, an expensive model, latest generation, much newer than the one I had. I stood there in the rain, holding that cold and wet device. Why on earth would there be a phone glued inside the spare tire of my own truck? Elena and I shared this vehicle sometimes, but she had her own compact car for the city. The human mind is curious. In moment of shock, it looks for logical explanations. Maybe it belonged to the previous owner, I thought, but we bought this truck new 3 years ago. I got back into the driver's seat, soaked and shivering, and pressed the power button on the phone. To my surprise, the screen lit up. It had 12% battery. Someone had made sure it was charged recently. The light from the screen blinded me for a moment in the darkness of the cabin, and then I saw the wallpaper. I felt as if someone had injected liquid ice directly into my veins. The air got stuck in my throat, and I had to make a conscious effort not to vomit right there. The background image was not a photo of us, or our dog, or landscape. It was a photo of me, but it was not a normal photo. In the image, I was fast asleep in our bed, with my mouth slightly open, wearing the gray t-shirt I used to sleep. What froze my blood was what was next to my neck. In the photo, a hand wearing a black latex glove was holding a large, shiny kitchen knife, pressing the blade gently against my throat, right over carotid artery. The date on the screen indicated that the photo had been taken 3 days ago. 3 days ago, I was at home. Elena was lying next to me, or at least that is what I thought. I stared at that macabre image, trying to process that the person with whom I shared my life, the woman to whom I had entrusted my dreams and my fears, had taken a photo threatening to slit my throat while I slept helpless. My hands were shaking so much that I almost dropped the device. I swiped my finger across the screen. It asked for a 4-digit code. My mind was racing at 1,000 miles per hour. I tried our anniversary. Nothing. I tried her birthday. Error. I tried her mother's date of birth. Error. The phone warned me that if I failed 2 more times, the data would be wiped. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to think like her. If this phone was hidden in such an absurd place, the code would not be something obvious to me, but something important to her. I remembered a strange conversation we had a month ago. She was obsessed with the date we moved into our first house, but she always got it wrong by 1 day. She said that October 7th was her lucky number. I typed 0710. The phone unlocked. What I found inside made the knife photo look like child's play. There were no social media apps, no games, no music. There were only 3 applications on the home screen: an encrypted messaging app, a photo gallery, and a banking application from a foreign bank that I did not recognize. I opened a gallery first. I needed context. There were hundreds of photos. As I scrolled up, I realized that my entire life was documented there, but from a twisted perspective. There were photos of my identity documents, of my credit cards on both sides, of my passwords written in my work agenda. But then, the photos changed tone. There were screenshots of conversations. In one of them, a person saved only as Client Zero asked, "Is a life insurance deposit done?" And below, a photo of my life insurance policy for $2 million. With a message sent from this phone that said, "All set, only the accident is missing." I felt intense vertigo. The insurance. 2 months ago, Elena insisted a lot that we update our life insurance. She said it was for responsibility because we were planning to have children soon. I signed everything without reading the fine print, trusting blindly in her. Now I understood that I had signed my own death warrant. I exited the gallery and entered the messaging application. There was only one active chat. The contact name was simply an hourglass emoji. I opened the chat and started reading from a most recent message sent just 6 hours ago while I was supposedly on my business trip. She wrote, "The idiot comes back tomorrow. I need you to prepare the garage. The brakes must fail on the curve of the state highway, not before." The answer came 2 minutes later. "Understood. Are you sure you want to do it this week?" "It is our anniversary," she replied. "It is the best gift I could give myself. I will be a rich and free widow. I can no longer stand even one more minute pretending that I care about his stupid work stories or his mediocre family. Besides, the money is already in the Cayman Islands account." I dropped the phone on the passenger seat, as if it were burning. I looked around at the dark and rainy road. Paranoia hit me like a train. She had mentioned the brakes. She said the brakes had to fail. And I was here, stranded by a blown tire. But what if the tire was not an accident? What if this was part of the plan? I ran out of the truck and crouched next to the blown wheel. I illuminated the rubber with the flashlight of my own cell phone. Among the shreds of destroyed rubber, I saw a clean, straight cut on the sidewall. I had not stepped on a nail or glass. Someone had slashed the tire in such a way that it would hold up for a few kilometers before giving way to pressure and heat. If I had gone faster, if I had not been so cautious with the rain, I probably would have flipped over. They wanted me dead this very night. I went back inside the truck and locked the doors. My mind, which until a few minutes ago was that of a loving husband, was now working in survival mode. I had to think coldly. If I called her and confronted her, she would know she failed. She would know I am alive and that I have the phone. She would erase every digital trace, empty the accounts and disappear, or worse, send whoever the hourglass contact is to finish the job. No, I could not let her know that I knew. I looked at the hidden phone again. 8% battery remained. I needed proof. I needed to back all this up. I connected the phone to my truck charger, praying for the charging port to work. The lightning icon appeared. I started sending all the photos, the chat screenshots, and the bank documents to a secret email I use for large file storage, one she does not know about. While the photos were uploading one by one using the mystery phone data network, I kept exploring. I found a voice notes folder. My fingers trembled as I pressed play on the first one. It was Elena's voice, but not the sweet and loving voice I knew. Her tone was cold, calculating, almost robotic. Voice note 1, day 450. The subject still suspects nothing. I have managed to divert 15% of his monthly income to the ghost account under the concept of home maintenance expenses. He is pathetically trusting. Sometimes it disgusts me to have to kiss him. I felt a tear of rage fall down my cheek. Subject? Is that what you called me? 450 days? That is more than a year. She had been planning this systematically for more than a year. I played another note, dated 2 weeks ago. Voice note 28. I had a problem today. He almost found the second phone. I left it charging in the bathroom, and he came in earlier than expected. I had to hide it in the dirty laundry basket. I need a better place. I think the spare tire of the truck is safe. He is useless with mechanics. He would never check there unless he had a real emergency, and I will make sure the car is always in perfect condition until the final day. The irony was brutal. She dug her own grave by hiding it there, assuming I would never have a mechanical problem. But her accomplice, or perhaps she herself, by sabotaging my tire to kill me, led me straight to the evidence. Suddenly, a notification appeared at the top of the found phone screen. A new message from Hourglass. The message said, "The truck GPS tracker indicates that it stopped at kilometer 40. Did it happen already? Should I send the cleanup tow truck?" My blood froze. They had a tracker. They knew exactly where I was. And cleanup tow truck did not sound like roadside assistance. It sounded like a team to get rid of the body and the vehicle. I looked at the clock. It was 2:15 in the morning. If I did not answer, or if the vehicle did not move soon, they would come to check. I had to act fast. I finished sending the last file to my email. Then, I did something I saw in a movie, hoping it would work in real life. I went to the phone settings and looked for the call forwarding option. There was nothing useful there. But then, I remembered the banking application. I entered the unknown bank app. The balance in the account was $350,000. Dollars that were surely mine, stolen little by little, plus whatever she had obtained by other means. Without thinking twice, I looked for the transfer option. I needed an account number. I could not transfer it to my normal account. It would be too obvious and traceable by her. I remembered the account of a veteran charity my father donated to. I knew the number by heart because I managed my father's finances. I entered the data. In the amount field, I wrote $350,000. Confirm. The application asked for a second authentication. Damn. It needed a fingerprint or facial recognition. Obviously, my face would not work. Or would it? I looked again at the wallpaper. The photo of me sleeping. The banking app did not need her face. It needed the authorized face. What if she had set me up as a user to mock me or for some technical reason? No, that was stupid. But wait. The phone had facial recognition unlocked. I had unlocked it with the code. But for the bank, I tried putting the phone in front of my face. Error. Face not recognized. Of course, it was her face. It was locked. I could not get the money out. Frustration made me hit the dashboard. But then, the text message from Hourglass flashed again. "Why are you still stopped?" "I am coming there. I arrive in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The killer or the accomplice, or whoever it was coming here. I was alone on a dark road with a blown tire. I made a decision. I was not going to wait to be killed like a dog. I changed the tire with a speed I did not know I possessed. Adrenaline is a powerful drug. In 5 minutes, the spare wheel was on. I tightened the bolts with brute force, not caring if they were perfectly aligned. I threw the blown tire in the trunk, along with the jack and the wrench. I got into the truck. The secret phone was still connected. I disconnected it and put it in the inside pocket of my jacket. I started the engine. Just as I turned on the high beams to merge onto the highway, I saw headlights approaching slowly in the opposite lane. It was a large black SUV with tinted windows. It slowed down as it passed my previous position. I did not wait to see who it was. I stepped on the accelerator to the floor. My truck skidded a bit on the wet asphalt, but the traction tires gripped the road, and I shot off. I looked in the rearview mirror. The black SUV was making a U-turn. They were chasing me. My mind calculated the options. I could not go home. Elena would be there, possibly armed or waiting for the news of my death. I could not go to the local police in this small town. I did not know how deep the corruption network was, or if she had contacts. I needed to get to the city, to a public place with cameras, with people. The phone in my pocket vibrated. I took it out with one hand, while driving at 140 kilometers per hour. It was an incoming call from Hourglass. I let it ring. I did not answer. It vibrated again. A message. "I know you have a phone. Elena, what are you doing? Why are you running away?" They mistook my escape for hers. They thought Elena was in the truck, perhaps betraying them. That gave me an advantage. A small but crucial advantage. I typed a quick reply with a single hand, risking a crash on every curve. "The police are nearby. Abort. See you at the safe point." I sent the message and prayed for the language to be ambiguous enough. I saw in a rearview mirror that the black SUV slowed down and then turned off its lights, taking a side exit into the forest. It had worked. I had bought time. I drove for 2 hours without stopping until I reached the neighboring city. I went straight to a cheap hotel, paid in cash, and went up to the room. I barricaded the door with a chair. I sat on the edge of the bed, with Elena's phone in one hand and mine in the other. It was 5 in the morning. I had to plan my next move. I knew Elena thought I was dead or about to die. She had not called my real phone all night. That confirmed she expected bad news, not a husband running late. I turned on the television for background noise and started checking older chats. I needed to know who Hourglass was. I scrolled back months, and then I found a photo that made me doubt my own sanity. It was a photo of a family dinner, a barbecue in the backyard of my own house, last summer. In the photo were my parents, my brothers, Elena, and me, everyone smiling. But the message below the photo, sent by Elena to this mystery contact, said, "Look at these pigs. They eat and laugh without knowing that the meat I prepared has low doses of arsenic. Not enough to kill them today, but enough for cancer to appear in a few years. Slow revenge is the sweetest." I jumped up and ran to the bathroom to vomit. My mother had been diagnosed with severe stomach problems 3 months ago. Doctors could not find the cause. My father had chronic fatigue. This was not just about money. It was not just about infidelity. I had married a psychopath, a potential serial killer who was systematically poisoning my family, while smiling and serving us lemonade. I washed my face with cold water. Looking in the mirror, I saw a different man. The kind and trusting man who went on a business trip had died on that highway. What remained was a man filled with a cold, dark fury. I decided I was not going to go to the police yet. The police would ask for proof, conduct slow investigations. She would get a lawyer, maybe destroy evidence, maybe escape with the Cayman money. No, she wanted to play at being a criminal mastermind. She wanted to play with human lives. I was going back home. I was going to walk through that door as if nothing had happened. I was going to kiss her. I was going to ask her how her day was. And I was going to wait. I was going to be the best actor in the world because now I had control. I had her phone. She did not know I had it. She would think it fell, that she lost it. She would panic. And while she panics, I am going to dismantle her life piece by piece. I am going to empty that Cayman Islands account. I am going to find out who Hourglass is, and I am going to make sure that when she falls so hard the impact is heard in hell. I left the hotel when the sun came up. I bought a burner phone and transferred all the data from Elena's phone there. Then I took her phone and turned it off. I wrapped it in aluminum foil to block any signal and hid it at the bottom of my dirty laundry bag. I drove home. Turning onto our street, I saw Elena's car in the driveway. The curtains were drawn. I parked the truck. My heart beat so hard my chest hurt. I took a deep breath. "Showtime," I whispered. I opened the front door. "Honey," I shouted with a falsely cheerful voice. I arrived early. Surprise. There was a dead silence in the house. Then I heard hurried footsteps upstairs. Elena appeared at the top of the stairs. She was wearing a black silk robe. Her face was pale, her eyes wide. She looked like she had seen a ghost. "Love?" she said, her voice cracking. Are you okay?" "Better than ever," I replied, walking up the steps towards her with a wolfish smile. I had a little problem with a tire on the road, but nothing I could not fix. "By the way, I am very hungry. How about you make me something to eat? I am dying to taste your cooking." I saw her swallow hard. Her eyes went down to my hands, looking for something, maybe blood, maybe a wound. But they only saw her husband, alive, healthy, and dangerously happy. "Sure," she whispered. "I will make you breakfast." While she went down to the kitchen, I went to our room. I took the foil-wrapped phone out of my bag and hid it inside the ventilation duct, behind the grate. I sat on the bed in the same spot where the knife photo was taken. The game had begun, and this time I made the rules. That first morning was psychological torture. Elena served me scrambled eggs with a shaky smile. I sat across from her, watching every micro movement of her hands. Had she put something in the food? I remembered the message about the arsenic. "You look tired, love," she said, avoiding eye contact. "Are you sure the trip was okay?" "It was exhausting," I replied, cutting a piece of egg. "But it was worth it. I closed $1 million deal. We are going to have a lot of extra money soon." Her eyes shone for a second, a mix of greed and panic. If I had more money, she would want to wait to kill me. That bought me time. I brought the fork to my mouth. But at the last second, I faked a violent sneeze and dropped the food into the napkin. "I am sorry," I said, wiping myself. "I think I am catching a cold. I do not have much of an appetite." She seemed relieved that I did not eat, which confirmed my suspicions. She probably did not want to poison me so quickly after a failed murder attempt. It would be too suspicious for an immediate autopsy. I spent the rest of the day locked in my home office, supposedly working. In reality, I was monitoring her behavior. I had installed a hidden camera application on my old tablet and left it strategically placed in the living room. I watched her tear apart the sofa cushions. I watched her check my coats on the rack. I watched her go out to the garage and search frantically in the truck, cursing and hitting the steering wheel when she did not find her phone in the spare tire. Her desperation was my fuel. Every time she came up to ask me something, I minimized the windows on my computer and smiled at her like a love-struck idiot. "Have you not seen A Black Device?" She asked at noon with beads of sweat on her forehead. "It is like an old portable charger. I think I lost it." "No, honey," I replied without stopping typing. "Do you want me to help you look for it?" "No," she shouted too quickly. "Do not worry. It is old trash." That night, while she showered, I took the phone out of the ventilation duct. I turned it on just long enough to see if there were new messages. There were 12 missed calls from Hourglass and a series of increasingly aggressive text messages. The last message said, "If you do not answer an hour, I assume you got caught. I am going to initiate the cleanup protocol. You know what that means for your sister." I froze. Elena had a younger sister, Lucia, who was the only decent person in her family. Were they threatening her? Or was Elena using her sister as collateral? No, the message suggested the sister was a loose end. I had to find out who Hourglass was. I went to the metadata of the photos Elena sent him. Most had a location turned off, but there was one, a single photo from 6 months ago, that had the geographic coordinates embedded. It was a photo of a glass of wine on a rustic wooden table. The location marked a cabin on the outskirts of the city near the lake. I searched the address in the public property registry. The owner name hit me like a punch in the stomach. The cabin belonged to Marcos. Marcos was not a stranger. Marcos was my lawyer, my best friend since college, the best man at our wedding, the man I played tennis with every Saturday, the man who drafted my will and my insurance policies. Everything fell into place with painful clarity. That is why they knew so much about my finances. That is why the life insurance was so well structured. Marcos and Elena, my wife and my best friend. I felt hysterical laughter bubble up in my throat. It was so cliche it was insulting. But fury quickly overcame disbelief. I was going to destroy them both. I decided it was time to go on the offensive. Using Elena's phone, I wrote a message to Marcos. False alarm. The phone ran out of battery, and the charger broke. He suspects nothing. He is more stupid than we thought. But I need to see you. I am nervous. See you at the cabin tomorrow at 8 in the evening. We have to plan the next attempt. The reply came almost immediately. Damn it, Elena. You almost gave me a heart attack. Okay, tomorrow at 8. Bring the wine I like. And make sure he thinks you are going to yoga class. I turned off the phone and hit it again. The next day, I acted with total normality. I told Elena I was going out to dinner with some clients. She told me she was going to her yoga class and would be late. We kissed at the door. Her kiss tasted a betrayal, but mine tasted a victory. I left home in my truck, but parked 3 streets away. I waited for her to leave in her car. I followed her at a safe distance. She did not go to the yoga studio. She took the highway toward the lake. I had already gotten ahead of the situation. Hours earlier, I had called a private investigator my company had worked with for corporate fraud issues. I paid him triple his usual rate to go to the cabin earlier and place microphones and cameras. I also gave him strict instructions to call the police anonymously at 8:30, reporting screams and a possible case of domestic violence at that address. I arrived at the cabin and parked my truck in the woods, covering it with branches and a camouflage tarp I used for hunting. I approached the house on foot. I could see them through the living room window. They were sitting on the sofa, drinking wine. Marcos was caressing my wife's leg. Seeing it in person was 1,000 times worse than imagining it. I put on the headphones connected to the investigator equipment, which was transmitting audio from inside. "We cannot fail again," Marco's voice said. "I already moved the funds to the secure account, but if he is still alive by the end of the month, the bank will start asking questions about the unusual transfers. We need it to look like a natural accident. A heart attack would be ideal." "I am upping the dose in his food," Elena replied, "but he has an iron stomach. Maybe we should go back to the staircase plan. Push him and say he tripped while drunk." "Too risky," said Marcos. "The police investigate falls. The car accident was perfect. Why on earth did he change that tire? He is useless. His survival instinct is annoying," she laughed. "But do not worry. Tomorrow I will make his favorite lasagna. I will put enough sedative in it to put a horse to sleep, and then, well, you can come and help me load him into the car. We will leave him on the train tracks." Hearing how they planned my death so calmly was surreal. I felt no fear. I only felt the need to end this. I looked at my watch. It was 8:25. The police would be here any moment, but I wanted to go in first. I wanted to see their faces. I took out the copy of the cabin key that Marcos had given me years ago for emergencies. I walked to the front door. I entered without knocking. The sound of the door opening made both of them jump. Marcos spilled the wine on his white shirt. Elena let out a gasp and covered her mouth with her hands. "Good evening," I said calmly, closing the door behind me. "I hope I am not interrupting your strategic planning meeting." "What are you doing here?" shouted Marcos. Standing up, his face went from surprise to a mask of threat. "This is private property." "Technically," I said, walking to the table and pouring myself a glass of their wine. "You paid for this cabin with the commissions you earned from my company, so I feel I have some right of use." Elena was shaking violently. "Love, it is not what it looks like. Marcos was advising me about a surprise gift for you." I let out a dry laugh. "Elena, please, save yourself the embarrassment." I read the messages. I heard the voice notes. I know about the arsenic in the barbecue. I know about the brakes. I know about the $350,000. The color drained from Marco's face. He realized the game was over. His hand moved slowly toward the side table drawer. I knew he kept a gun there. "Do not do it, Marcos," I warned him. "The police are 2 minutes away. And everything you have said in the last 30 minutes has been recorded and streamed to a secure cloud. If you shoot me, you will only add first-degree murder to the long list of conspiracy and fraud charges." Marco stopped. He was a lawyer. He knew when he was cornered. But Elena was not so logical. With a scream of animal fury, Elena grabbed the wine bottle and lunged at me. "Damn you," she shrieked. "Why do you not just die already?" I dodged a blow easily. She stumbled and fell to the floor, sobbing. It was not sadness. It was pure rage at having lost. "I gave you everything. Elena," I told her, looking down at her. "I gave you a life most would dream of. And you wanted to kill me for money. Money you would have had anyway if you had asked me for a divorce. I hate you." She spat from the floor. "I hate your kindness. I hate your boring family. I hate your voice. I deserved more." At that moment, blue and red sirens lit up the windows. Loud banging sounded on the door. "Police! Open the door!" Marco slumped onto the sofa, defeated, putting his hands on his head. Elena kept shouting insults as the officers entered with guns drawn. The following week was a whirlwind of lawyers and statements. With the phone evidence, the cabin recordings, and the financial trails, the case was solid as a rock. We discovered it was not the first time they had done it. Marcos and Elena had scammed Elena's previous boyfriend. although fortunately, he got out alive, just bankrupt. The trial was fast. Elena pleaded guilty to avoid a greater sentence, but she still got 25 years for attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud. Marcos received 30 years. Since as a lawyer, the judge considers betrayal of public trust an aggravating factor. As for me, the healing process was slow. I sold the house. I could not live where she had planned my death. I sold the truck, with the money from the sale and what I recovered from the secret counts. Thanks to a court order, not the hacking I attempted, I created a foundation to help victims of domestic fraud. But there is something I never told the police. Remember those $350,000 I tried to transfer to charity that night at the hotel? Well, turns out the transaction did not fail completely. It stayed in a banking limbo. With Marco's credentials that I found in the cabin before the police arrived, I managed to redirect that money. I did not return it. I used it to buy a small house on the coast of Italy, a place where no one knows me, where I do not need a car, and where I grow my own food. Sometimes, at night, I look at the sea and think of Elena. I think of her sitting in her concrete cell, eating tasteless prison food, knowing that I am here, drinking real wine, alive and free. They say the best revenge is living well. But I think the best revenge is living well with the money of the person who tried to kill you. So, if you ever find a phone hidden in your car, do not ignore it. It could save your life. Or better yet, it could pay for your retirement.